Hello Year 2. I hope you all had a very good Easter break and that you're ready to do lots more learning at home. We're going to carry on with story time, doing Andy Shepherd and the Boy Who Grew Dragons. I've got Ronnie here, but he's very sleepy today, so I'm hoping we don't have any book chewing. He's also sporting a lovely new collar there. Not sure you can see that, but doesn't he look smart? Hey little one. So, where were we up to? We had found out that the main character in our story, a boy called Thomas, had just gone upstairs and found a dragon in his bedroom, which had hatched from the dragon fruit, which he'd found at the back of his grandfather's garden. And the last bit we read was things I did not notice. Tom Tom. Chapter 5. The Tom Tom and Jerry Show. Tom Tom is big for a cat. In fact, he's gargantuan. I'm pretty sure he's half tiger. And he's on the grumpy side. He's not the cuddly, sit in your lap and have a lovely stroke kind of cat. He's more of a guard cat. And I'd left the door open. So, if you've ever seen Tom and Jerry cartoons, especially the ones with that little yellow canary, you can probably picture what happened next. But if not, then here's what I saw. My tiger-shaped cat leaping from the bed in a slow-motion arc. There he goes. My new dragon, in mad panic mode, launching into the air and leaving a trail of scorch marks across the walls, his scales flaring a bright electric orange. Tom-Tom, who had obviously forgotten he was wingless and therefore unable to fly, very quickly came crashing down on my desk. He sent my rocket lamp, books and pens flying as he skittered across and landed in an undignified heap right on top of my remote control car. Apparently, not finished in his starring role in the new Tom Tom and Jerry show, the cat's claws hit the big red button on my remote. This fired up the shrieking siren and spinning lights, which sent him rocketing under my bed with an ear-splitting yowl. I stared at the door. There was no way my parents would sleep through this racket, and I wasn't sure Lolly would either. The little dragon flew upwards and crashed into my lampshade. His claws ripped through the paper on the shade as he scrabbled to hold onto the wire frame. For a moment, he swung there upside down, not knowing quite what to do, before heading for the shelf where all my Lego models were lined up. He knocked his way past model after model, and I watched in horror as hours of painstaking building tumbled to the ground. Crash! Bang! I lunged just as Mum started to enter the room. I poked my head out, trying not to let my eyes drift over to the dragon perched on the shelf just behind the door. "What on earth is going on?" she hissed. Her eyes flipped to Lolly's door. Dad appeared behind her, looking like his hair had exploded on top of his head, and brandishing a slipper as though he was being attacked. Although what help a fluffy pink slipper would be, I had no idea. "Sorry," I spluttered. "Tom-Tom was attacking my King Kong. I had to save it." Mum frowned. I could tell she wasn't convinced. She tried to peer past me to see inside, but I wedged my foot against the door. "What's that smell?" she asked, wrinkling her nose. I sniffed, and I caught the faint, smoky tang in the air. As if on cue, the little dragon sent out another spark that crackled in the darkness of the room. "Nothing," I stammered. "Just, stinky cat smell. I'll give Tom-Tom a bath tomorrow. I promise." Mum looked about to speak, but thankfully, a well-timed scream from a grumpy-at-being-woken-up Lolly sent her attention away from me and the dragon, who had just launched up to the lampshade. She groaned and she steered Dad down the hall. They disappeared into Lolly's room, Dad still clutching the slipper. Behind me, Tom-Tom hadn't given up. With eyes full of malice, he stalked back and forth, getting ready to pounce again. The little dragon was swooping and diving in dizzying circles now, clearly terrified. He kept sending out flurries of little sparks that rained down, but thankfully they fizzled out before they landed. I glared at Tom-Tom. "Out!" I hissed, and I herded the spitting ball of fury onto the landing. As soon as the door had closed, the dragon flew down towards me, and I held out my arm for him to perch on. He was shaking, and as he pulled in his wings, I gently laid my hand across his back. His eyes were still fixed on the door, as if he thought Tom Tom might come crashing back through in any second. I held my breath until I heard Mum and Dad stumble back to their room. The little dragon's claws dug into my arm as if he was poised, ready to spring at a moment's notice. I couldn't exactly stroke him like you would a cat. Well, any other cat than Tom Tom. But I kept my hand resting there until he'd stopped shivering, and he relaxed his grip. "Sorry," I whispered. "We'll be more careful from now on." He stared up at me, his twinkling eyes looking right into me. It was like gazing into one of those crystal prisms, where the light is scattered into a rainbow. Fragments of colour sparkled and danced around. Dragons' almond-shaped irises. I could have looked into those eyes forever. Then, just for a second, his sharp little claws tightened on my arm again. "I promise," I whispered. The grip loosened. The tiny creature seemed satisfied that he'd made his point. His scales flickered, and the fiery orange glow gradually returned to ruby red. It was only then that I took in the devastation that was my room. The scorch marks up the walls and the sparks that had left sizable black stains on the carpet. And the poo. I learned my first important lesson about baby dragons that night. They poo. A lot. Especially when they're being attacked by a miniature tiger.